If there's one thing I can say about day one of free agency, it's the refresh button got used. It got used a lot. Beep, 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 constant refresh. I was just like on the edge of my seat, and it got going right from the jump. Like literally some jumper cables hooked and detached to me. Okay, that was my nipples or something like that, but probably because it was literally up in the shake up in here. But anyway, we have to talk about it, man, because there were some big time additions to each and every team. And let's start off with the Buffalo Bills. We're going to go division by division, starting with the AFC side of the ball. And you talk about the Buffalo Bills. Now, my grades are over on the right. It's not perfect. They were thrown together. I'll just be real. My quick initial take, I'll think more about this and we can talk about, especially when we're going to get into team roster breakdowns on mock drafts once again, post free agency. We'll really discuss some of those. But this is the first take. This is not a show. But you talk about, and we'll be quick with this because we have to go through 32 teams. I don't want to bore you too much. DJ Moore, the big one we need to hit here. And I wasn't as big of a fan on the DJ Moore situation. A second round pick, I would have rather have just used that on a draft selection, whether it was their first rounder or their second rounder. But I also understand why they would want to acquire somebody like DJ Moore because they've invested in the draft and it really hasn't worked out. So that's why I'm saying not the worst scenario here. But for me, I just thought, I just used one of those picks in the draft or whatever. But you got Connor McGovern back. It's really good to see there. Not a crazy expensive deal for a caliber player. I think it's a very fair value contract. Sam Franklin, good special teams ability. Kyle Allen's friends with Josh. D. Alford here. I didn't mind this one, just mainly because it was a scheme fit sort of thing. Johnson or Teron Johnson, who got traded, is more of a zone cover guy. Alford's more of your man-to-man cover guy. And Jim Leonard, the new defense coordinator, coming over from the Broncos, more than likely is going to play a little bit more man coverage. The deal's fine. It's only $10 million in guaranteed money. I actually think it's a pretty good deal. I might even bump that up to an A. Alford's a bit of a streaky player, but in the right scheme, I think it makes a lot of sense here for the Bills. Dolphins, Malik Willis. I am pumped for Malik. He gets that chance to start here on a team that's, a little bit of a rebuild. Let's just be real. But 3 years, $45 million guaranteed. That at least gives him hopefully a couple year window. If he plays really bad, then obviously they'll be in that quarterback market next draft class. They just are going to have a lot to put together for this football team. And I do worry, will Malik have enough supporting cast around him to really get a result on that? But I'm really happy that he's at least getting an opportunity here. And I think he's a fantastic player to take a chance on. I love Malik. On to Greg Dulcich here. 1 year, $3.25 million. Good re-sign. I like that one a lot. I thought he was a good receiving option for them. And Hill was more their blocking guy. New England. They had a nice little free agency here. They got Elijah Vera Tucker. I don't know the official amount just yet. I kind of just heard that one before making this. And they stole him from my favorite team, the Jets, which Elijah Vera Tucker is a great player. There's no denying that. It just comes down to the injury situation. This grade could get changed depending on how much of that is guaranteed. If it's not too bad of a contract, that's an easy A, and I still think it's a pretty good move, even if it is a little expensive because he's that good of a talent. Draymond Jones, who's a little bit of a streaky player, and even though he was playing good there and for the Ravens picking him up and stuff, I still think it's a little expensive for a guy who has been a little streaky. If we can see that sort of play, then this moves up to like even an A type of, so we're at least an A minus, B plus range contract and whatnot signing. Reggie Gilliam, fine, no problem with that. It's just a little expensive for a fullback. That was my only argument here, but he's a good fullback, a versatile guy. On to the Jets. Jets. We got Minkah Fitzpatrick, baby. Let's go. I was so happy about that one. This was a big addition here to get Minkah into this defense and for a very cheap deal. Seventh round pick given up. We only had to give up a market value contract. I thought Minkah could have gotten more than this. He's still in the prime of his career. Easy. At least an A type of move, in my opinion. We need a safety. He could play a little in the slot too for us if we really want, depending on what Brownlee does and whatnot. So that's a really good move. And that's just beginning here for Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn. They got Devondre Sweat in a trade. This was earlier on. Love that move. Love it. You got Joseph Asai, who's going to, in Kingsley Enagbare too. We got two edge guys here. Remember, we're going to play a lot more 3-4 outside linebackers. Devondre Sweat's going to be that big nose up in the interior. Osai and Agbari, neither of these contracts are going to break the bank or anything like that. 22.5 guaranteed with Osai, and then you get a 1-year, $10 million contract with Ignagbari. Have no issues with those. Osai gives you a little more pass rush. Ignagbari gives you a little bit more run stopping ability. And then, yeah, I mean, that's maybe we bring in an Arvell Reese or a Ruben Bain in the draft, and you pair him up with Will McDonald, and that's your 4 tandem of edge rushers. I think that'd be pretty dang good, actually. So I'm pretty happy with that overall. And then you get DeMario. I mean, they weren't flashy moves, but I think they're very solid moves. And I think they're both anything a B or higher, B minus or higher, I would consider, above average-ish or average to above average. DeMario Davis, love it. He's back in New York. We should have never let him go. But it is what it is. He's back. Even though he's older, we need that veteran leadership in the middle of the defense. Going to help us out. We need a leader back here. You got David Onyemata. I'm fine with this one too. It wasn't like one that I'm blown away with. Onyemata, still a solid football player. I thought he did regress a bit this season, so there's that. And I was kind of hesitant. It could be a C plus range for me. Still not too bad. It's a 1-year deal. My idea on this is they bring him in here. You draft somebody to develop behind him. You got Dane Belton going to compete in here with Malachi Moore in this case scenario. I think this is great. Minkah Fitzpatrick, Malachi Moore, and Dane Belton. That's a phenomenal little core of guys that you have in there. It's better than what we had this year, in my opinion. It's not perfect. At least Belton gives you some insurance policy. If nothing else, he can be great special teams. And even if he hits that $6 million mark, no problem with that. Then that'd be a good thing. Then we got Jelani Woods re-signed. You got Breece Hall on that franchise tag. I'm glad he's back. Hopefully, we're going to have a long-term extension. Andrew Beck as a fullback. Good job for the Jets. I'm pretty pumped up. I'm excited. We got the Ravens here. John Simpson, and he was a Jet. That's one thing the Jets are going to figure out is the guard position. But the Baltimore Ravens were able to address that one area there, and then you got to figure on that their hope is either Voorhees or Emory Jones are able to step up in that other guard position. In terms of center, that's still going to be a question for them. They'll probably have to head that up to the draft or sign somebody else. Max Crosby, let's talk about this one real quick because Crosby, he's still in the prime of his career. It'll be like 29 next season. So no real huge issues there. Now, I do struggle sometimes with these sort of things, giving up 2 first-round picks. A lot of times, these type of things just backfire. Like, let's just be real. When was the last? I mean, there are some situations where this works out. I just feel like in general, a lot of times these type of things don't really work. And that is why I'm a little lower on this deal, even though Max Crosby is fantastic. And there's no doubt in my mind, he's still a top 10, possibly top 5 edge rusher, depending, what I mean. And I think he's going to be extremely motivated. And for the Ravens, they need a pass rush. Their pass rush was horrible this season. It was a bottom 5 pass rush. So I think Max Crosby is still a big net positive, and you're not going to find Max Crosby more than likely at pick 14 either or in the draft. It's very hard to find a guy of the talent of that. So you could totally make the argument, well, those first round picks, even if you drafted back-to-back edge rushers, you're not going to find the same production of Max Crosby. True, but you also have to pay him, and you're giving up 2 first rounders, and that can, be some issues for your future. Tyler Huntley, good, solid backup. I'm fine with that one. No problems. So Max Crosby, John Simpson, Huntley there. Still not a bad free agency. Just questions sometimes you're kind of going all in and you're in a bit of a window now. On to the Cincinnati Bengals. They did something. Let's go. And this, I'm not surprised. This is something where they have a lot of pressure on them right now to deliver. They need to build a roster. And you got Jalen Davis and Dalton Reisner back, both big-time additions here. Davis was solid for them in the slot. You probably have to draft somebody there, but at least he could start right away if need be. Reisner solidified that right guard position, and that offense line was way better when Reisner stepped in. Brian Cook, Boye Mafe, 2 very much needed signings. Now, Mafe, you can say, well, he was more in a rotation. He kind of went out of favor in Seattle, and that's some truth to that, but there's also some injuries and stuff like that. I think this next season he can be a big-time impact for this team off the edge with some young guys. Boye certainly gets that opportunity here. It is expensive. Ultimately, though, it's a big need for them, and you pair him along with Stewart and Murphy. Get yourself somebody that has a little more solidified pass rushing juice right away. Cook, in the back end. You feel confident. He's not a supreme athlete. He's not your sideline to sideline range dude, but he's a reliable tackler. He's a reliable diagnoser in the backfield. He's going to just come in there and not get torched, kind of sort of thing that you've seen a lot of, right? And that's been a problem with Geno Stone. Jordan Battle is his tackling issues and all those sort of things. Cook is reliable. And it's not a bad deal. I thought he was going to get a little more than that. Overall, not too bad for the Bengals to start things off here in their free agency period. Cleveland, they get help in the offensive line immensely. Yeah, they had to pay for some of that, and that's fine. I have no problem with that. I thought the Titus Howard move for a 5th round pick was great. I sound like my tooth was loose or something, but dude, I love it. I think it's a great move for them. Plug and play right tackle, or they can move him over to guard because he has versatility there. So if they draft right tackle still, which is certainly in play, but Howard gives you some versatility. And for that contract, I'm assuming they want to play him at right tackle. Zion Johnson, I like this deal a lot. It is expensive, though. That's the only thing. But I do like the fact that they're continuing to improve the offensive line. Zion Johnson has been super reliable, too, in terms of games started. And yes, he's not been perfect. He is more of an okay guard. And you can make some comparisons this to like an Aaron Banks type of contract, which is why I gave it a B-. It is an overpay. But you do have to overpay sometimes for offensive linemen. And that is something I'm okay with. And I do think Zion Johnson at least gives you a floor and a reliability that is very much valued that they could use, especially for a young quarterback in Shedeur Sanders. Quincy Williams, 2-year deal, up to $17 million. I'm fine with this one, too. I think they do think Quincy Williams took a step back this season, so that's why I give it a B-. He's still a good player, and if he can get back to some of the couple years ago play, then you're going to get a lot more upside there with Quincy Williams next to Carson Swessinger, which I do like that little combination. 2 hammers. On to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Rico Dowdle, a great deal here. I love it. I love it. I love it. It was tough. I was getting a little worried there after losing Kenny G. I'm like, not looking good here for the Steelers. And then they went out and got Rico Dowdle for cheaper than Kenny G. And I think Dowdle is very good. And I mean, Kenny G was very, very good as well. And they're different players. I will say that. Dowdle's more of a thumper. Kenny G was more of a receiving player. So that's something you could take a look at. Overall, Warren can give you some of that too. So maybe Dowdle's a good 1-2 fit and stuff like that. Anyway, I do like that deal a lot. And I think it was a very, very good situation there. And then you got Michael Pittman Jr. I don't love it, mainly because it's like, just go to the draft and get a young wide receiver. Like, they still need to do that, and hopefully they will. But Pittman is a good wide receiver, and I don't want to knock him on that. He's going to be a nice chain mover. And he's different than DK Metcalf, too. So Metcalf's more your vertical guy. Pittman's more of your, over the middle of the field, underneath, short to intermediate type of guy, especially at this point in his career. And I think there's a good complementary skill set. They still could add a wide receiver that can separate a little bit more consistently. That's really what they're missing. And that is where I would look in the draft, is finding a quick twitch separator type of guy. And then Cole Holcomb here, 2 years, $5 million. Fine with that one. No problem at all. Asante Samuel, fine. No problem. Some depth. And he's got some upside there. He'll get fully healthy now. And I think that's worth to bring him back. Jamel Dean as well. I thought this was a fair deal. For his injury history, I'm cool with that because I thought he was going to get more than this. I got to take a look at the guarantees. That could drop this rating a little bit. But if the guarantees are somewhere in like the $25 million range, I'd stick this as an A, no problem. I thought that was a very fair deal for a very good corner that is just injured, unfortunately. But Asante Samuel gives him some depth with Joey Porter Jr. And then you got Esezi Otomewo, 1-year deal, no problem with that. Good, solid free agency for the Steelers so far. Houston, we go, and to the AFC South, David Montgomery. I love David Montgomery. Don't get me wrong. It was a little expensive. A 4th and a 7th round pick. Well, next year, no worries about that. But 4th round pick is quite a bit for David Montgomery at this point in his career. So that's something to consider. I thought they could have gone with somebody in this draft class in the 2nd to 4th round range. Maybe they didn't want to. Maybe they have other areas they want to hit. And that's totally fine. But ultimately, that's something you have to kind of balance there. Still a very good runner. Getting a little bit older, though, now. And that's something to consider. And they'll still need to get him a complimentary piece, which they have guys like Woody Marks. And I will say, it's a good addition to what they have. So I will say that. Reed Blankenship, 3 years, $24.75 million. I'm fine with this deal. I like Reed Blankenship. I thought he had a bit of a down season. He's still a really good safety, and he's a really instinctual safety. And that, to me, is going to be a nice combination with Caden Bullock, who Bishop can play. I think him and Bullock, and you can rotate these guys, but Bishop can play free. He can play a little split. He can play a little down in the box. He's not going to be your slot guy, all right? But Bullock's not that dude, and it's not something that D'Amico's looking at. He's got Petrie for that. So Blankenship will be a nice addition there. You got Dalton Schultz, an extension added on. That's fine. A little expensive, but Schultz is a good player. And then you got Trent Brown. I love that re-sign. He was excellent. He just has injury durability situations. That's why it's not an A+. Ed Ingram, I'm okay with this. I thought Ingram did help stabilize the offensive line for them a bit. He's a good run blocker as well. Still working on pass protection. He was way better this season. Still a bit of an overpay, in my opinion. So that's why I put it as C+. Good player, though. It's on the improvement, on the up and up. Naquan Jones, good depth. I love the Sheldon Rankins re-sign. Excellent move for $12 million. He was fantastic this season. They lose Tim Settle. That's all unfortunate, but they can go to the draft there and get some help. You got Daniil Hunter given an extension as well. I thought that was fine. I mean, it's expensive. I mean, he's a beast, so it is what it is. You got to pay top-end money. EJ Speed, 2 years, $10 million. Love it. I think Speed is an underrated player in the NFL, and I thought it was a very fair deal. You got Dominique Robinson, another underrated, pass rushing specialist type of guy who I thought was fantastic this season. MJ Stewart has some depth. Don't have a problem with that. He's a good special teamer. A little expensive, so I did not get a bit, but fine with that. The Indianapolis Colts, who I thought had some ups and downs here. Colby Wooden traded for Jair Franklin. Franklin, at this point, it made sense. They have to kind of think about the future at the linebacker position, get a little bit more well-rounded there. Wooden gives you some more talent, more rotation on that interior, kind of with Otomewo. You got Arden Key. They needed some help there, right? Especially after losing Kwity Paye. So Arden Key comes in here with JT Tuimoloau, kind of rotating there on that side, opposite of Leatu. You got Daniel Jones on the transition. I didn't love this personally. I think it's a little bit much. Unless they're, feel like Daniel's going to come back early, I almost would say that's just a little bit high. That's my opinion. But Daniel Jones, Indiana Jones, I'm rooting for him and really excited to see him back next season. Alec Pierce, glad the deal got done. A little expensive, but he's a really talented wide receiver. One of the best in the NFL at what he does on that vertical track. And then Blake Grupe was really good when they're picking him up from the Saints. So I thought it was a very cheap deal and keep him around. On to the Jacksonville Jaguars, which is more just, bringing their guys back. Nothing crazy. They didn't, they don't have the money really to do anything too wild. But besides all these, I thought they were all solid. Dennis Gardeck, Montrevic Brown, the big one here, Busta. I am so happy he's back. Huge steal in the draft. And he's got a nice little payday here. He certainly earned it. He's been a fantastic player, and he was really, really good this season. Johnny Munt, let's let go. And then we go on to the Tennessee Titans here. You got Mitch Trubisky coming, which was interesting, to say the least. They needed a backup, though. Will Levis more than likely going to get shipped out. That's my guess at this point. So Trubisky makes a lot of sense here. Not a break-the-bank type of contracting. Some experience behind Cam Ward. Jermaine Johnson, the edge rusher. Sorry, not running back. That's a mistake on my part. So pardon me on that. Hey, you can give him the balls of running back. You never know what'll happen there with Jermaine. He's a good athlete. I didn't. Now, here's the thing. I'm a Jets fan, so there was a little bit of, spoiled or a little bit of, this, short-term memory, I guess. But Jermaine Johnson was not great this season. Now, he's a good football player. He's coming off injury, and I expect him to be now fully healthy going into next season. The talent is all there. Robert Saleh, if there's anybody that knows how to use this guy, it's Robert Saleh. So there's that. I just, it's kind of one of those things. You're giving up Tavondre Sweat, who is a dominator at what he does. He is more of a rotational player, whereas Jermaine Johnson can be more of a starter at a premium position, right? I hate saying the premium position. Every position's important, right? And I know that it's like, well, edge rushers are paid more than defensive tackles, all and this and that, but good football players are good football players. So it is what it is. And I don't try to look at things like that. I just would say, yes, edge rushers are a little bit more expensive. So if you're looking at it from the other side of it and saying, well, my grade's too low, then there's some reasons why. And Jermaine definitely has all the talent. Wan'Dale Robinson, an overpay, no question about it, in my opinion. But I do think that Wan'Dale Robinson is really good at what he does in that slot, short to intermediate range, get the ball in his hands. He's dangerous after the catch. And Brian Dable exactly knows how to use this guy. So I expect there to be no lapse in production with him. So it's a great fit. And he's going to help out Cam Ward on the underneath tree. They had to pay for him, though. That's what it is, wide receiver. Ideally, he's more of like a 12 to 13 mil type of guy, in my opinion. So there's that. If it would have been that range, it would have been more like a B plus sort of range. Anyway, John Franklin Myers, I love this. It is expensive as well. That's why it's not an A. John Franklin Myers, once again, Robert Saleh knows how to use this guy, and he's going to be a fantastic addition for this football team. Cordell Flott, I loved this move as well. They got Alontae Taylor in here. Alontae Taylor, a little expensive, but a really good slot corner that can also play on the outside, and I assume that they're going to play him on the outside quite a bit. Austin Schlottman, I love Schlottman, man, and he's been a nice player, a nice backup, and he might get a chance to compete for the starting position. Hopefully they bring back Corey Levin, and those are opportunities at least, because Schlottman's a solid player, and I don't see why he couldn't play and be a starter. He's in the prime of his career, really, for an offensive lineman now at 30 years old or so, so he might get an opportunity. You never know. If nothing else, good depth for a decent price, only $3 million guaranteed. Cordell Vozen, not with an M there. Sorry. Once again, another typo, trying to put these together and whatnot. So that's my fault. But I like him as a depth piece here. A little expensive. So that was a C plus, but it's fine. You got long snapper Morgan Cox back, Joshua Williams. Chiefs losing all their corners practically. But Williams, 2-year deal. We'll have to wait and see what type of contract it is. I'm fine with it, though, as some depth. And then Daniel Bellinger. I know this one's getting a lot of hate, but I like Bellinger. I think he's an underrated player. I think he's a good blocker, and he's a sneaky weapon who wouldn't shock me if him and Gunnar Helm turn into a really good 1-2 punch. So it's not, I think, a vindication on Helm. Now, I do think the Chicks will probably get signed elsewhere, is my guess. Who knows? I mean, just imagine if they bring all three of those guys back and they run a lot of heavy 12 and, big personnel. That would be really, really cool. I have no problem with that. And tight ends now, especially in the NFL where running the football is really important, and you see teams like the Rams and what they're able to do with 4 tight ends, I think it's fine. We look at Colby Parkinson's deal at the back then and like, oh, that's kind of expensive. But now you're like, hey, it's not a problem at all, right? And what he does as a blocker and as a receiver, I think Bellinger can do the same thing. That's why I kind of like it. I'm really not mad at this one at all. It's on paper it seems like a little expensive deal. Only a little over $14 million guaranteed. I think Bellinger is going to be a really, really nice addition for them. So that's my opinion. I actually like that signing. It's kind of one of my underrated signings in many ways. On to the Denver Broncos here, and they kind of just took care of business, bringing back their guys. No no signings outside. Ellinger, Stratnod, Dobbins back. A little expensive on Dobbins, in my opinion, but only $8 million guaranteed. Singleton, Troutman, kind of keeping Sean Payton's guys around and whatnot. And all were very fair contracts. Nothing too crazy here. And I think they did kind of status quo. Team that wasn't status quo was the Kansas City Chiefs. And kind of figured they were going to be active. And boy, did they hit on some big, big additions. Kenneth Walker, K9, makes his way to Kansas City. Oh, I'm so excited. I think he's going to be an absolute huge addition for them with an explosive element that they do not have. And, I mean, Pacheco's a nice, explosive element, but they need a complete runner. Kenneth Walker's that guy. The durability's still been a bit of a question with Kenneth Walker, and they'll have a rotation with Brashad, so that's fine. And I think that Walker is going to be exactly what this team needs. A fair contract as well. Doesn't break the bank. This is an A-plus signing. Kyrus Tunga, another A-plus signing. This was one I was saying, him or who else was I saying? Roy Lopez. They needed that type of guy in free agency. They needed a one-tech, a true one-tech, or zero-tech, right? In this case scenario for Spags, a one-tech. Tunga, exactly that. And so I am so excited, and for a fair contract as well, $7 million average, $14 million guaranteed, so it's a 2-year guaranteed contract. Not bad at all. Tunga was fantastic for the Patriots in that role, and I think he's going to be fantastic next to Chris Jones and just make things a lot easier eating blocks. And then we go ahead and go with Alohi Kielman here, who just got signed for them in a fair contract, way cheaper than Brian Cook was. And every dollar for them does matter a little bit. And Gilman, while not as solid of a player as Brian Cook, I still think Gilman's a good, solid player. So Alohi Gilman will help out that back end. And then you can go into the draft too and get some more help with Jaden Hicks. Taquan Thornton, fine for this deal. I was saying somewhere around the $5 million mark or less, ideally. Has a good field stretcher type because that's really his game. That's a very good contract there. Kelsey to be back. And you got James Winchester, long snapper, back. Yes, let's go. So very, very fun little day for the Chiefs. And it does open some things going to the draft. Like corner still needs some big help. And then they got to look at still hopefully bring back Leo Chanel. And then wide receiver could be a big need for them. We go on to the Chargers here, and they get Alec Ingold, a little expensive for a fullback. He's a good fullback, though, I will say that, and he can move around. He's a little bit of an H hybrid player, too. You got Tyler Biadasz, 3 years, $30 million. No problem with that contract at all. He's a great center, and they needed a center so bad, so it's going to be a nice upgrade for them. You got Charlie Kohler. That was a little expensive for me. I was higher on Daniel Bellinger, but Kohler, I guess, is going to be there kind of like their number 2 blocking guy to go out in heavy personnel, along with the lines of like Disley and Gadsden and all those guys. Taylor Tart, defensive tackle here, 3 years, $30 million, up to 37.5, $20 million guaranteed. Great re-sign. He was fantastic this season. No problem with that one. And they got Khalil Mack, edge rusher, 1 year, $18 million. No problem. Great to bring him back. The return of the Mack. He will be back. Trevor Penning, fine. Some depth there on your offensive line. Still need to address it, right? They still need to address the guard position. But hopefully Penning can continue to develop and play one of those guard positions for them after losing Zion Johnson and Mekhi Becton. Moving on to the Las Vegas Raiders, though. And boy, did they go crazy. Oh my gosh. Tyler Linderbaum, first and foremost. Is an overpay? Yes. Do I care? No. I mean, this is one of those where it's like you're helping out a young quarterback. And I've said this until I'm blue in the face. I'm turning blue. I don't know. I'm not turning green. I guess I'm the blue Hulk, or I'm like Jim Carrey from Liar Liar. It's the pen is blue. Anyway, Tyler Linderbaum is going to be such a big addition as that center, that communicator in the middle. Center is such an underrated position in the NFL. And you look at good offensive lines. When you have a really good center, a lot of times you have a good offensive line. It's a critical position to get things set up properly with your blitzes and picking up all those things. So Linderbaum, a 3 year, $81 million. And not to mention what he's going to do on the move in the run game. It's going to be pretty wild here. And it's a great scheme fit, too. Zero doubt in my mind that Clint Kubiak saw Tyler Linderbaum available and was like, yes, we've got to make this happen. Jalen Naylor here. This was an overpay, in my opinion. I think Naylor was fantastic. He had a great chemistry with McCarthy. No question about it. And I do think he'll give him special teams ability, if nothing else. I just think it's a bit of an overpay. And I think they should still heavily be in the wide receiver class here at some point to get some more help there. And it's only technically like a 2-year type of guaranteed contract. Then we got Kwity Paye, who they got from the Colts. And I like this signing. I know people are saying it's an overpay or this and that. It's expensive, but edge rushers aren't cheap. And I do think that Kwity Paye is going to be a really nice addition for them. He just sparks me as the type of edge rusher that is going to get better with age. He's going to age like fine wine because he's not a bad athlete, but that's not really how he wins. And as he gets better with his technique and whatnot, because he's a very fluid athlete, especially for his size. Once he gets better with his technique, I think he can become a very, very nice pass rusher for somebody. So I just think he's going to be a guy that gets better as he gets older. And he's coming into the prime of his career here. So that contract reflects it. I don't think there's a whole ton of risk. It's only $32 million guaranteed. So it's a 2-year deal. It's not a bad deal. I don't think so, especially when you look at some of these other contracts, even like a Boye Mafe type of deal and a Dafe Owes and what they got paid. I'd rather get Kwity Paye. That's just my opinion. So I don't mind this deal at all. You got Taron Johnson. They traded from the Buffalo Bills, a little late round pick swap. I thought it was a good move for Rob Leonard here. Nice little fit for them. Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker, improving the linebacker position. Quay Walker, he's a solid linebacker. I know Green Bay Packers fans kind of wanted him out the door. He's still a good player, so I'm fine with that. He's just been a little streaky. Nakobe Dean, he's a good football player. Just injuries are his biggest question mark. But if he can stay healthy, then that's an absolute huge win for them. They got Eric Stokes back, who was fantastic this season. You got Malcolm Kuntz back, which is fine. Some more depth off the edge. I still think they're probably going to be in the market for an edge rusher in this draft. You got Matt Gay with Daniel Carlson likely out the building now. I don't love that. I still think Carlson's a good player. I know he missed a lot of field goals deep this season, a little uncharacteristically, I guess, but still, I think that, I mean, contract wise, whatever, Carlson's still a good kicker. So that's my opinion on that. But overall, good fun day for the Raiders. Going on to the Cowboys, we head into the NFC now, and this is where the Cowboys fans, I'm sure, are chirping over a lot of things. I'm not, pissed off with this or anything. Javonte Williams, I love that. Jorb Chickens, good to get him back on the tag. Rashawn Gary, there was rumors that Rashawn was just going to be cut. I don't know how truthful that is or whatever, but a fourth round pick, it's a little bit much for Rashawn Gary. They've been just giving up a lot of draft picks, so that's why I did put it as C plus. Gary's a good, solid, kind of like number 2 pass rusher at this point in his career. He's not past his prime or anything like that. Well, maybe his best years, but he could have a little bit of a resurgence here. And I think he's going to be a nice addition for them and be a good fit for their defensive coordinator, Christian Parker. You got Jalen Thompson, 3-year deal, $33 million. I love that move. Exactly what they need in the back end. A reliable piece that has some versatility, can play up in the box, can even line up in the slot if need be, play in the back end. Really, really solid safety that doesn't break the bank. You got Brandon Aubrey back on the second round tender. Hopefully they work at a long-term extension there. Sam Williams back on some depth, special teams. Totally fine with that one as well. Just got to hopefully get more production as a pass rusher. But a really good special teamer, I will say that. So I didn't, I get it. Rashawn Gary, you can make the arguments. Why'd you give up that much? It is what it is. But they're clearly in a window. They're going for it. They're in a couple-year window. They're trying to get this thing to the Super Bowl. On to the Giants. Isaiah Likely, tight end from Baltimore. And it's kind of the theme here. Got a couple of Baltimore players in here, Jordan Stout and Ardarius Washington. Oh, I'm very happy with. And I think Ardarius Washington coming off the injury is going to be a nice little sneaky signing. Jordan Stout's one of the best young punters in the NFL. I mean, he got paid the highest in the NFL. Punter, I believe that's the highest paid punter in the NFL. And that's fine. I mean, he's a good punter. So punters are important. All right. Maybe you didn't need to spend that much money. So that's why I'm going to give it a B plus, but he's a good punter. Isaiah Likely, I also thought was a very fair contract. Looking at some of the other contracts in the NFL, I thought that was a very fair deal. I might even bump that up to an A minus. It still's a lot. Ultimately, if there's anybody that knows how to use Isaiah Likely, it's going to be John Harbaugh, and they'll get their money's worth out of that. And then we got Tremaine Edmonds, 3 years, $36 million. This is a fair contract for Edmonds. I thought what he was on was a little too much, too rich. But on this deal, that's fine. $13 million average for Tremaine Edmonds. He was really good this season. He had some flashes at the end where it was a little bit, like, okay, I understand why the Bears cut him. The mid portion of the season, he was fantastic. Beginning, he was okay. He really hit his stride like week 3 or something to week like 12, whatever. He had a really, really phenomenal mid portion of the season. And then those other ranges, he was kind of, a little shaky. And that's kind of been the theme for Edmonds sometimes throughout his career. So he's not, I would say, the best linebacker in the NFL. He certainly played a lot better, though, this season. You got Gunnar Olszewski, good little special teamer. Jermaine Illuminor is back and on a very fair deal. I thought he was going to get like close to $20 million. So that's an A for me. He could also play guard, even if they wanted to draft the tackle. That's fine. Ardarius Washington, I mentioned. I like that. Isaiah Hodgins, good to keep him back. They shouldn't have let him go in the first place. On to the Eagles. Jordan Davis, they just took care of business. Now, they lost some guys. Blankenship, Nakobe Dean. They lost Jalen Phillips. So things are going to get interesting for the Eagles. But sometimes, they got to be, you got to reset a little bit. And I think that's what the Eagles are going to do. They've got draft picks to be able to get some talent in here. Jordan Davis was a monster this season. He was unguardable. So this was a must do. It was expensive. I get it. I mean, you're paying $26 million average. But boy, is he a good player. So I have no problem with this contract, even though it is a little bit expensive. Homegrown talent who had a phenomenal season, and he's coming into the prime of his career. On to the Commanders. You got Odafe Owe, 4 years, $100 million. It's expensive. Your hope is that he plays like he did it for the Chargers. If you're getting Baltimore Odafe Owe, then you're like, okay, this is an overpay. However, once again, your hope is that the tick is up for him and he's headed in that trajectory because the dude's got all the talent. He could be a top 10 edge rusher in the NFL. There's no doubt about it. He has the skill set. He's got the pass rush tools to be that guy, that consistent 10 sack a guy season dude. It's just a matter of putting it together consistently. So if we see what we saw from the Chargers, this is a great signing and somebody that you feel pretty good about. But I give it a B because, it is risky. Okay, it's $68 million guaranteed. Still a lot of money. Then we go into Tim Settle here. I love that signing. Thought he was fantastic for the Houston Texans. Fills them a nice, little, reliable defensive tackle. He is coming off a foot injury, so keep an eye on that. You got Armeek Robinson here. Didn't love this signing. 2 years, $16 million. I thought he didn't have a very good season for the Detroit Lions. The secondary was kind of a mess for Detroit, so let's just be real. It's not all on Armeek Robinson. They had to force him to the outside as well, so he was going up against bigger wide receivers. Still, though, when he was playing in the slot, I still thought he struggled quite a bit, so it is what it is. He's still a good, feisty player that can have a bit of a bounce back. Because he was good early in the season, then it just kind of got really bad. Marcus Mariota, quarterback, comes back. It's fine, a little expensive, but he's a good, solid backup, and we know Marcus is clutch. You got Treylon Burks. I love this. He was good down the stretch for them. Laramie Tunchel extension. It's expensive, but he's a great tackle. I mean, he's an elite tackle. So having him back to protect Jaden Daniels is a must. You got Nick Algretti, some depth. I'm never going to complain about offensive line depth. It's fine. We'll have to see what the deal is. Denetric Wise, cool with that as well. Some depth off the edge. He'll be coming back from injury, which he sustained like week 1 or 2, I think week 2 or something like that. Trustway, legendary punter is back. Good to see that. Andrew Wiley, some more depth in the offensive line, can play tackle, can play guard, more likely a guard at this point. But Jake Moody as well to finish it off. I thought Moody was good for the Commanders when he stepped in there. So glad to see him back, at least competing. On to the Bears. The Bears, where they got Bradbury in the trade for a 5th rounder. I'm fine with that. Bradbury's not a great center. However, for a 5th round pick, I'm fine with that. And it fills an immediate void, and they can draft and develop somebody there. Neville Gallimore, didn't love this signing. I mean, it's a 2-year effective. It's effectively a 1-year, $5.5 million deal. It's fine. Nothing crazy. It's not going to, destroy your cap or anything like that or your financial dollars. Is it going to move, like any craziness? Like, do I feel great about this? No, they still need to add probably the defense line in the draft. Devin Bush, 3 years, $30 million. This is a huge signing. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's amazing. And I didn't expect him to be that cheap. I thought it was going to be way more to get Devin Bush. So 3 years, $30 million. I guess teams were looking at it from a whole sample size, not just a 1-year element. So there's that. And he was also playing next to Carson Schwarzenegger, which is nice. But I thought Bush was amazing. And towards the end of the season was just lighting this game on fire the way he was playing. So Devin Bush, really good football player. I like the signing there. Kobe Bryant, good player as well. Another nice signing to help fill that ease from losing Jaquan Brisker, possibly, and Kevin Byard. Both of those guys are TBD right now. And you got DeMarco Jackson. I'm a big fan of DeMarco Jackson. He's a guy from Appalachian State that I thought was a really good player. And he's finally kind of come into his own here and developed into a good, solid backup and rotational. He's even had to start for them, and he was good. So he got rewarded with a contract. You got Braxton Jones back. I'm actually surprised they brought back Braxton Jones, to be honest. Theo Benedict was also bad. So they're in a pretty good spot tackle-wise. That gives yourself with Ozzie Trebillo time for injury. And that's probably what happened was with the Trebillo injury, they wanted to have some assurance there and by bringing back Braxton Jones. And then you got Case Keenum back here. Fine, no problem with that. Daniel Hardy as well. Can be some special teams and some depth. Detroit Lions, and I thought they had a big time win in free agency though so far. Yes, they were selective. Overall, I thought they done a really good job here. Cade Mays, 3 years, $25 million. Only $14 million guaranteed. So if injuries or whatever, like that hampers, then no problem. I just think he's going to come in there, be a great center for this football team. Huge Cade Mays fan. I'm surprised Carolina let him walk out the building, to be real with you, especially for that price. Maybe he just wanted to go. That's definitely possible, but great move for the Detroit Lions. You got Larry Borum, who was good for the Dolphins. Kind of had a good season in general, so that was interesting. But I didn't expect it, to be honest with you, and I proved me wrong for sure. And I thought he turned into be a really good swing tackle, and for $2.5 million, he gives him a good swing tackle. Juice shrugs, traded with this is from the David Montgomery situation. It sucks to lose Montgomery, and that's why this is an A minus because Montgomery's a great player. However, getting a fourth round pick this draft is going to be huge for them. And they can use that to go and draft a nice solid running back too, I feel like there if they want to, and on a cheaper contract to help them out financially. And I just think it makes sense for the Detroit Lions to do it. Unfortunately, as much as like I said, I love David Montgomery. It just sometimes you come to a point, and Montgomery definitely had a down season this year. So they just couldn't figure they had to make a move, right? On to the Green Bay Packers, division rivals. Sean Ryan, 3 years, $33 million. It is an overpay, in my opinion, but Ryan definitely solidified that center position for them this season. When he was out there, the run game was so much better. Pass protection still is a liability, in my opinion, in that regard. He's not perfect, let's just put it that way. He'll get better, and I do think this could be a good signing at some point. I'm not saying this is the worst signing or anything like that. I just think it is a bit of an overpay. So there's that compared to the guys like Cade Mays. Like, I'd rather have Cade Mays, in other words, who was cheaper than Sean Ryan. So that's just something to kind of point out there. Generally speaking, though, he certainly was way better than what they had. And then as Jair Franklin traded with Kobe Wooden, it's fine. You know, Franklin's going to help ease that voice from Quay Walker. You got Darian Kennard, nice solid swing tackle. No problems with that one at all either. Quiet for the Green Bay Packers. Another quiet team was the Minnesota Vikings. But I thought they got job done. They did what they needed to do. Eric Wilson at linebacker, and they've got a good team as it is. They don't need to do a whole ton. Maybe, look at safety in the draft or running back. Those are some possibilities for this football team. Maybe get defensive tackle, maybe a couple of positions, get some depth on the offensive line like center. Need some help there. Tight end of the future. They could all look at some other areas here in free agency. But for right now, Eric Wilson, 3-year deal, who was unbelievable this season as a blitzer, one of the best blitzing linebackers in the NFL this season. Eric Wilson is a perfect scheme fit for Brian Flores. James Pierre, nice little addition here to go along with Byron Murphy. It allows Murphy to play in the slot, and of course Rodgers as well. So that cornerback room looks pretty dang solid. 2 years, $8.5 million. Very cheap contract. These are two easy A signings, in my opinion. Falcons, we get into the AFC South now, and Tua Tagovailoa, that vet minimum comes over here. Love it. I absolutely love this. He basically comes closer to Alabama, I guess, if you want to call it that. Not technically home for Tua, but anyway, he stays in a warmer climate in a dome, which is great. And the teams he will be playing twice a year, he won't have to deal with the inclement weather like the New England Patriots or the Buffalo Bills or the New York Jets. So I think it's actually a really good fit. Michael Penix, while he's rehabbing from the torn ACL, Tua Tagovailoa can come in here. He's got some weapons. Yeah, I think this is a great move for them. I really do. It's fantastic. Jahan Dotson, 2-year deal. Okay. A little bit of an overpay in my opinion, but it's fine. It'll give you some depth at wide receiver. Omelad Zaccheaus, a reunion here. I'm actually fine with that. I'd rather just do that. Anyway, Zaccheaus had a case of the drops this season, so it is what it is. But anyway, I think Zaccheaus is still a good signing, a good reunion. Austin Hooper, like that sign here, in this case from the New England Patriots. And Hooper was a good, reliable number 2 with Hunter Henry. So I think he can do that with, give me more of the inline guy to go along with Kyle Pitts. And then you got Christian Harris on a 1-year deal. Fine. Nick Folk, oh man, I'm a Jets fan and stole Nick Folk from us. How could you do that? Oh my gosh, I love Nick Folk. Jeez, he was so reliable too, and we had to let him go. But I understand. Nick Folk is a legend. Happy for him, and he got a nice payday here. You got Jake Bailey, good punter. I thought both of those were fantastic special team additions for them. You got, I didn't expect that one, but Cameron Thomas, 1 year, $3.1 million. A little expensive, rotational player though, so ultimately it gives him some depth. Kyle Pitts on the franchise tag, needed to do that. Hopefully they can work out a long-term extension here. Good, nice little free agency from the Falcons. On to the Carolina Panthers. They made some splashes. Kenny Pickett, first and foremost, a 1 year, $4 million, fine. Backup quarterback behind Bryce Young. Jalen Phillips, 4 years, $120 million smackaroonies. What are you going to go spend that on, Jalen? Hopefully you're investing in it here, but that is a lot of money. $80 million guaranteed as well. It's a big, big payday for him, and he's earned it. Now, his injury situation is the one thing here you have to consider. If he's injured a lot, this contract's going to come back and bite you. But if he stays relatively healthy, you're going to come back on this and say, no, no problem, because he's a great football player. He could be a top 10 edge rusher if he stays out on the football field. So that's just the big thing. I think he is that's not the question of how good of a football player he is. It just comes down to the injury situation. So you're playing a little bit of blackjack, or you're betting on black or whatever, the roulette thing. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't. I'm scared of casinos. I like Texas Hold'em. I think that's the one. If I were to gamble, it would be on Texas Hold'em. It's the only sport I feel like I could actually gamble on. Because some ways it's not necessarily always just gambling with that. You still are. But anyway, going back to this, don't gamble, okay? Don't listen to those gamble ship sponsors. It's a joke. It's a scam. Don't do it. But that's my little harp for the day. Which way? Caleb Evans, J.J. Jansen, some depth there, and long snapper, always good to have back. And then Devin Lloyd, another big splash. Okay, but 30 years. I think I've used my splashes for the day, my splashal effects of the day. You got $45 million, $25 million guaranteed. I love it. It's a great deal. I thought Lloyd was going to get $20 million. Yes, that's fantastic to put with him and Trevon Wallace. Yeah, that's going to be fun. On to the New Orleans Saints, Travis Etienne. Wow, I did not expect that one at all. But they go ahead and basically find their future here in the running back room. Travis Etienne, man, it takes Jeremiah Love off the table in this case scenario. Travis Etienne is going to be a beast for them. I like him so much, and I'm really rooting for him. He's close to home here. Noah Fant, I don't know. We'll have to see the details on this contract. I just feel like they could use more of an inline blocker type, and Fant's, because they got Jawan Johnson. So why didn't you go after more of like a blocking guy? It is what it is. Fant's a solid backup tight end to have, and we'll see what that deal encompasses there, and that'll kind of shift some of that grade. David Edwards, love this one, man. You're getting yourself a stud guard. He's expensive, and the Bills knew that they were going to have to let go, I imagine, of one of their interior players, and David Edwards was the guy they ended up letting go of. And for the Saints, they had to fill a guard position. They need help on the interior. I still think they could go to the draft and add more additions. Cesar Ruiz, they need to find a long-term addition there. However, at least they could roll into next season with their current starting offensive line. They need some depth at center as well, but you got Luke Fordner. That's a good question. Did they already re-sign him? I got to check on that. But anyway, hopefully they re-sign him, and that would help out their depth at center. John Ridgeway here, 2 years, $6.2 million. Okay, fine. Some depth at the defense tackle position. I'm sure it's not like a ton of guaranteed money. Probably you could get out of it in 1 year if you had to. Ryan Wright's a great punter. He's an easy A sign, in my opinion. So that's going to help out your special teams. Get a reliable punter. Julian Blackman, fine with that as well. Robert Rochelle, no problem either for some more depth. Solid free agency here so far for the Saints. On to the Bucks. Kenny Gainwell, nice addition here, right? And I think what's going to happen is more than likely, at least, that Rachaad White's going to head to the Commanders, but who knows? It's still too early to tell on that. But him and Jane Daniels will be a fun little combination once again. Kenny Gainwell fits that role for them, and for the deal, 2 years, $14 million. He was excellent this season for the Steelers, especially his receiving ability. Alex Anzalone, 2 years, $17 million. Not $80 million guaranteed. It's $8 million. Pardon me, but another little butchery up in here. It's like, oh my gosh, he's got $80 million, but only a $17 million contract. How is that even possible? I don't know. Anything's possible, right? Overall, I think that Alex Anzalone is going to be a day one plug-and-play guy that brings that veteran leadership. They still have to draft. They're going to have to invest in this. Levante David could end up retiring or whatever's going to happen there. I'm not sure just yet. But Zalone gives you a good, solid linebacker that can also cover there. Cade Otton, back on a 3-year, $30 million deal. Came out of the season cooking. And, he slowed down a bit. But generally speaking, I thought he had a really nice season for them. And not a bad contract either for Cade Otton. And he's a good receiving option. On to the NFC West and finishing this up with Gardner Minshew here, quarterback. I didn't love this one personally, but we'll see what they end up doing. Clearly, the Cardinals could be in a spot where they're looking to draft a quarterback in this draft. They could be competing with the Jets. I mean, Geno Smith is still out there. A lot of some interesting options that could be played out. Kyler Murray is maybe he goes to the Jets and they get Geno Smith. Who knows? Tyler Algier, very shocking. This was one of the more shocking free agency pickups out of any team, I feel like. I'm like, whoa, I didn't expect that one at all with Trey Benson and James Conner coming back. But Algier just continues to elevate this running back room. Good luck tackling these guys. I mean, Benson, Conner, and Algier, that's got to be one of the toughest, meanest running back rooms in the NFL. I'd hate to be a linebacker going up against these guys week in and week out. Nate Landman's going to be busy. Let's just put it that way. Kendrick Bourne, 2 years, $10 million. I like that signing a lot. He can, line up in the slot on the outside, give him some versatility there. You got Isaac Samalu, great signing, right? You got good run game. You just try to add a good run blocker in there. Samalu's a solid run blocker. I don't think he's as good as he has been, but he's a good pass protector and a reliable player. He's an older player now, 32 years old. So that's why he gives a B minus. It's a 3-year deal. It's the guarantees, though, will be the big question. If the guarantees aren't too bad, and my guess is probably like a 2-year guaranteed situation, and then you can go from there, and that's fine. Samalu is still a really good football player and hasn't showed any major signs of slowing down. And I feel like the Schlaupman's coming out of me or something. It's the S's. But then you got LJ Collier, defensive tackle, up to $2.5 million. It's fine. Good, solid rotational pass rusher. Roy Lopez, though, was one of the big steals in free agency. This is a certified booming pick for me, right? I'm only going to give up one certified booming pick. This is it right here. Roy Lopez. I love this so much. He was fantastic for Detroit. How could they lose him for this amount of money? What were they doing? I don't know. Maybe you just want to come back here, and that's fine. Roy Lopez, great player, and certainly somebody that's going to help on that defensive interior after losing Calais Campbell, possibly. And then you got Blake Gillikin, nice solid punter there, as well as Chad Ryland back, who they stole early on from the Rams off the practice squad. Both good signings, I feel like. I mean, Gillikin's fine. I'm not super, thought he was decent as a punter. I wouldn't say he's unbelievable. It's going to get the job done, though. On to the Rams here, and they got Trent McDuffie. We got to talk about this because I gave it a C+, and you're probably like, what? Well, you got to give him the top paid corner, and you give up a first-round pick. So it's a lot. I mean, it is a lot to give up just because, I feel like even if they used pick 29, they could have gotten maybe an Avion Terrell, a Brandon Cisse, a Colton Hood there. Sure. There's no guarantees that dude is as good as Trent McDuffie. So I understand that. But in combination with paying him this big salary, the trade-off, it is a little bit challenging to me. That is the one question I have. And the fact of the matter is, you're paying a guy that you've not seen actually play for your team just yet. Those are my quorums. Now, going on to the good stuff. He's a fantastic player. He's one of the best corners in the NFL. He's going to get bodied at times by bigger wide receivers, and he'll go through his struggles and whatnot. You got Jalen Watson in here, too, so they just said, let's go get the Chiefs corners. Why not, right? Watson, fair deal for him. He was fantastic at the beginning of the season and through the mid portions. Yeah, obviously, the whole team in general had to slow down and injuries and stuff like that, but Watson's a great corner. He's your bump and run guy. And yeah, they clearly want to do that more. And then you got a long snapper back, you got Higbee back, you got Quessenberry back, and then you got Cam Curl back here. All very good signings, re-signs there. Higbee, good to see him back there. And then Cam Curl, I thought he was going to be more expensive than this, so I thought that was a major win. And only $24 million guaranteed, so it's a 2-year contract, if nothing else. And he's still in the prime. I mean, he's coming to the prime of his career. On to the Seattle Seahawks. Rashid Shaheed, the speed. Good, solid signing to bring him back. It's expensive, but not as expensive as some other guys. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson got paid more, so I like this signing. And for what he brings in special teams alone, I mean, it wouldn't be worth the $17 million just for special teams, but what he brings as a receiver, and he'll get another season for this team to be able to, get in the scheme and all those sort of things in an off season, and then you combine that with a special teams value. Certainly think that's a nice move here for Seattle. Josh Jobe, it's an okay signing. I think that Jobe is a decent player and could be a good number 3 corner for them. I mean, they got Eman Wari and they got Witherspoon, so they're in a very, very good spot. I didn't love this signing. He's still a young player coming into the prime of his career. Drake Thomas, a great re-sign here. He had a breakout season for them, and yeah, they had no problem with that one at all. That's an A move. On to the 49ers now. They got Mike Evans in a stunner. I didn't expect this one at all. I'm like, Mike Evans leaving Tampa Bay, but we got rumors of this happening a few days ago and whatnot. I just didn't really believe it, to be honest with you. He is leaving. So 3 years, $60.4 million. We'll see what that is guaranteed. He's a great wide receiver. Is it a little risky? Yeah, because he's got some injury history risk and he's getting older now. So those are all things you had to factor into the grade. He's going to give them a number one wide receiver, though. And boy, is he going to be fun blocking out there on the edge for Kyle Shanahan as well. So you talk about a guy that's got some ruggedness and toughness that Shanahan's going to love, as well as a receiving option. Sure, Mike Evans is going to be great. I don't think he's going to be prime Mike Evans or anything like that. And that's one of the reasons, it's a bit of an overpay, but he's still amazing. Veteran low, good solid swing tackle, could start in a pinch, no problem with that. It's a little expensive, but he's a good solid swing tackle. You got John Weeks back, and then Eddie Pinheiro, need to bring him back. Oh, I meant to give that an A, not a Z. I hit the wrong button on my keyboard, clearly, so we'll just call it a Z. It's World War Z out here, and Pinheiro, a nice solid. It was just above an A, I was that happy about it. I'm clearly need some Z's or something, but that is it here for free agency, day one recap, grades and all that sort of stuff. Let me know if you agree or disagree on that and who won free agency day one for you. There's a long way to go, and we're still going to see a lot of things happen. But it was a fun one. I was constantly in the refresh button today, and whoa, it was a lot of jumping up and down, a lot of excitement. So that's why I'm like, whoa, boy, man, my voice is going a bit right now. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later, and I'll probably bring a mock draft to you real soon.